Hi guys, this is Meleah with Mustard Tree Market. How are you today? How was your Sunday? I am the creator and coach here at Mustard Tree Market. I'm also a brand ambassador for Dixie Belle Paint Company. And I am creating my studio staging wall, finally. This is something that I've wanted to do before the first of the year. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary for our business, and on January 1st. So I thought it was appropriate that I finally did my staging wall. I'll post before pictures of my staging wall. It's terrible, you guys. It was really terrible. It's like the worst. It has paint splatter all over it. It was like the worst thing ever. So this is like a long time coming. It needed to happen. So I wanted to show you guys what I've done and how easy this is to create your own staging wall for really cheap and have something unique and cool. Thanks, Penny. Hi. Hi, Paula. So I just wanted to show you guys how I did this. I took a good old-fashioned yardstick and I've squared off a wall that's 6 by 8. I don't know if you can tell up there, but this does not go to my ceiling. It does not go to either side of my wall, so it's not an overwhelming project. I don't have to, like, you know, what do you call that? Trim it in, or whatever you call that you do on walls. You don't have to do any of that. So I just did a 6 by 8. I just drew a line with the pen and squared it in. So in my photos, like all my pieces I do, they're typically not longer than 8 foot or higher than 6. In fact, never. They're typically, like, at the best, maybe 6 or 6.5 feet long. And they're usually, I don't do that many things that are that high. So this should take care of any of those issues. And I usually cram, I have like the craziest stuff. So I'll have stuff everywhere and just zoom in on this tiny little area and make it happen. So I wanted to show you guys what I was doing. So I'll give you the full picture. Now I'm going to pull you guys in. And I'm creating like a vintage faux wallpaper look. Faux vintage wallpaper look, yeah. With some raised stencils. So I'll pull you guys in now. Abracadabra. And I'll pull you guys down. I'm going to show you the process of this because I know people can get a little intimidated by stencils, especially raised stencils, because it's kind of messy and a pain. So let me see how I can do this here. I want to pull you guys down. I want to pull you guys down so you can see what I'm doing. And I will tell you, this wall in here, I have a very old, like, cottage style house, and this wall's plaster. So my lovely, like, I have holes all over it, okay? Holes all over it. The little holes fill in with paint. Most of them will be covered by these stencils. And if they're not, that's fine. This is the middle of my wall. I'm going to cover it with a piece of furniture. And I do have like a big, huge, heavy nail hole that my husband put in, a big screw, so I can hang mirrors and frames and stuff when I'm staging. So I'm just painting around that because I'm going to continue to use that, obviously. I have a hook above my ceiling as well. So when you're creating a staging wall, I recommend to have these things. So see that right up there? That's a big heavy duty screw. And I have plaster walls, so I had to put like a special kind of screw in so I can hold like a heavy mirror. And then I don't know if you can see up there. There's like a thing that's hanging up there. I've got like a hook in my ceiling so I can like hang a light, hang whatever. So that's the things I recommend having if you're going to create your own staging wall, is hang a hook above your staging area and have a big heavy duty screw that holds a heavy mirror so you can always like hang anything that your heart desires when you're staging. This is Stacy on my hubby's page. Hi, Stacy. I was like, hi, Michael. Hi, Stacy. I have multiple Stacys on today. Okay, so so don't worry about like this big thing, because even if it showed up in something I was staging, which it shouldn't because it's right in the middle, I will just use my apps and just take it out like I would an outlet or something. So I'm not going to stress those. I'm not trying to make this like a 5-week process. So I'm using 2 stencils. I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to try to show you guys each process, because when you're using raised stencils, it is kind of messy and you have to kind of take some necessary process after you're doing it so that you don't gunk up your thing. Hi Tyler. I love the idea of the staging wall. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'm using 2 stencils. They're by ReDesign with Prima. This one that's on the wall right now is called Stella Flourish. Yeah, I'm not great at French, but that's one stencil. And then the other stencil is, it's this one. It's called the Large Damask. How do you say that? Damask? Large Damask? Large Damask. Those are the 2 stencils I'm doing. I'm just alternating them back and forth. And I've got a couple of things. I have a measuring tape, which I never do, but for this it's very necessary. Measuring tape to measure. I just use good old Scotch tape on the corners of my stencil. It doesn't tear my paint back. And I have a little baby leveler that I can set on top of my stencil and make sure I'm straight. This is my first one, so I'm going up through here. I'm going to show you guys. The end result is this, which is like a yellowed out vintage wallpaper raised stencil. And then what I'm going to do is, as I'm going across it, I'm going to slowly make a less textured stencil, and then it's going to just be paint over there, and then it's going to fade out to nothing. So it's going to look like it started out really good and maybe like the sun's coming in on that side and it's just like burnt up the paper. So that's the goal. Mostly because it's taking a really long time to do that much raised stencil and it's taking a lot of paint, so I'm not going to do the whole wall that thick like that, although it's absolutely gorgeous and I'm loving it. I really want to show you guys. Can I do that? That's so bad, I know, but I want to show you guys. So look at that. Can you see? Oh, the finished ones. There's the finished ones. Look how pretty that looks. It's got like that yellowed out wallpaper look, and it's crackly. So I'm just loving it, okay? Sorry, I don't mean to get dizzy there, but I had to show you. All right, so I'm going to create my junk from my raised stencil to show you guys how I do that. I'm using, I'm going to whip it up right now, a Sea Spray, Dixie Belle Sea Spray texture additive. That stuff's amazing. You guys, this is still my first bag of Sea Spray. And you guys know, if you follow me, how much I use Sea Spray. Here, I'll turn my light up so you can see a little better, hopefully. I use Sea Spray a lot. Why are you guys, I need to tilt you guys down more. I use Sea Spray a lot. And I'm still on my first original bag of Sea Spray. Whoa. Hopefully that's okay. I'll show you guys my whole setup here, because it's kind of a, you got to kind of get set up for doing this raised stencilness. There we go. Now you can see me. I'm still on my first bag. Look how much is left still. And this is my first bag since I started using Dixie Belle. So that's a lot. It lasts a long time. It lasts forever. And the color that I'm using for this, the colors that I painted the wall, I started out with Fluff, a layer of Fluff, and I almost used it like a primer. So start out with Fluff. I used it as a primer almost. And then I went in with Buttercream, and I did Buttercream over that. Just because I just did 1 coat of Fluff, 1 coat of Buttercream, so that if it like added some dimension, a little bit of layer look, I don't know, because I just can't use one color of white. So then the color that I'm using for my raised stencil is Putty. So Dixie Belle's Putty is what I'm using for my raised stencil. And I'm almost out, so I actually had to like I actually had to see what other colors I had that would work, because I'm almost at, this is going to be the end of it. So it takes a good amount of paint to do a raised stencil, and that's why I'm going to like fade out of this raised stencil. This is about the middle after this row. So this row I'll do raised with like a super raised like this, really thick. And then my next row, I'll just do a little bit of sea spray to give it a little raised, but not near as thick of texture. And then the row after that, I probably won't use any texture. I'll probably just paint stencil, you know, just stencil with the paint. And then I will start to fade them out to where they become just a dry brush, like the last row or two, just like almost dry brushed stencil, if that makes sense, so that so it looks like really old and decrepit and like stuff. So I just use my spatula to scrape it out. Ooh. And I scrape it into, by the way, I figured out that burlap I think is really close to putty, so I'm going to use that when I get over here because I'm painting over it anyway, so I think it'll work out. Whoa. Jeez Louise, I have floppy plates. So I just use a plate, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. I dumped the rest of my putty into a plate. I am using a lot of sea spray to make my really thick, crackled, heavy. So I'm going to pour 1 scoop in, and I'm probably going to use another scoop even. I'll go ahead and put another half in there. And then I just use a kitchen spatula. I have a couple of these. I think they work really good for getting all the paint out of your jar, for one, not wasting any. And for stuff like this, mixing it up. And I'll show you guys. I make mine super thick. That's just always the way I do it. But like I said, so that'll be like basically half the wall will be super heavy texture, really thick, raised high stencils, really crackly. And then it's going to go into a lot less sea spray, so just a little raised stencil, all the way to like just a barely dry brush paint stencil at the end. So they always say a brownie batter, and I always say a cookie dough batter. I like mine to be like stand on its own, like cookie dough balls would or something. So mix it up really good. Like a baker a little bit. Always forget to say hi. I love watching you get all caught up. Thanks, Sandy. Hi, Joanne. Hey, Georgia. Hey, Teresa. Just got here. Did she water the paint down too? No, I did not water the paint down. I keep a small tub of sea spray mixed with Fluff because I like to use it. It keeps very well. Oh, I've never done it kept. I always ruin mine. And you guys, the couple of things I'm going to show you, some tips and tricks when you're doing this stuff, is I do have just a little plastic tub with warm water, just plain water, warm water. And I always use those scrubby sponges, Dixie Belle scrubby sponges. And when they're done, I learned this from Pam of Country Living Newbie. The old sponge that has nothing in it, I just drop it in there and I keep that warm water with sponge on the side because you're going to need it. Okay, so that's about the batter look you want. You want it to be really thick and stand-uppity. And then have another plate that's not being used. It's a clean plate ready to put on top of this so you can keep it from drying out. And I just set my paint jar on top of it. To apply my stencil, I like this ReDesign with Prima. They have these little, they come in these packs of 2, I think. These little what are they called? I don't know what they're called. Texture applicators or something. They're just rubber and they work really well. So I got those, and I've got my little ReDesign with Prima little I think this is actually sold by Dixie Belle, but it's made by Prima. It's a little stencil pick thing. I always have that right by. So I'm gonna take it and I'm just gonna get it on, and mine's really thick. See how thick and dry it is? It's pretty dry. And I've already taped my stencil on with just regular Scotch tape because I'm fancy like that. I already measured it. I've already set my leveler on top. Oh my gosh. And look, it's level. So that's all I do. And now I've got the putty with the sea spray, and I've got my stencil taped down. I'm holding it, and it's gonna get all up in my nails and stuff. It's super fun. I'm just going to get this all covered, kind of smooth out on top. I do it different ways, up and down, so I don't have any air bubbles. There we go. And I'm using quite a bit on this half of the wall because I'm doing a pretty high raised stencil on this half of the wall. So there I'm using quite a bit on here, which is why I ran out of my jar of paint. I'm gonna have to do another color, but there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes that's what makes things so cool. And at the end, it'll probably be the thing that makes it look even more like it's fading out because it's like a little bit lighter, because the burlap's a little bit lighter than the putty. But I wouldn't have done that on purpose, but I just ran out of putty. So you guys embrace those little things because sometimes that's what makes it really cool. So I never stress those, and always know that every time it does that and something goes a little wrong, it typically turns out the best. All right, it's on there perfectly. I just take like a rag and try to get the goop off my fingers. I just wiped the excess off of this little stencil guy here. And then I immediately drop it in my warm water bucket so I can rinse it off for my next one. So drop it in my little bucket, warm water. And now because my hands are all gross, you know, and have all the stuff on them, I don't want to touch my white wall. So this is one of the ways I use my little stencil pick the Dixie Belle has. And I just kind of use it to pull my tape back like that, so I don't like put my grimy, dirty fingernails. I save my tape because I just keep using it, the same tape. And I just gently pull it back. And I don't stress this. If there's something wrong, that's okay, I embrace it. Ta-da! It's gorgeous, it's gorgeous. And it's super high raised. And don't stress if you have little pieces that show, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's old. It's vintage. So now what I do, and I'll show you guys, this is the process that you don't see on the lives, but it's important to know. So I'm going to pull you down here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna pull you down here to see what I'm doing. Maybe. Hello from Spain. Hi. Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to show you how I'm doing. Whoa. Oh, whoa, whoa. Whoa, Nelly. Whoa, Nelly. Don't fall. Okay. So I'll show you kind of what goes on after that. So I pulled it off the wall, right? So my wall's okay. First, take your spare plate, cover up your sea spray mixture because it dries really fast. Set something heavy on it. I usually use a jar of paint. Set that on it so it doesn't keep drying out. You don't want to add water to this, by the way. Don't squirt it or mix it with water. I've tried it, and it makes you get a runny mess on your next stencil. So don't do it. Okay, cover it up so it doesn't completely dry out. And then I have 2 paper towels waiting for me on the ground, shop towels. And what I do is I lay my stencil the way that all the junk's on it, the front side. I lay the front side down onto my paper towel or my shop towel. And then I squirt with my just water in my misting bottle. I squirt on the back side of the stencil, the side that's hitting the wall. Because that's the side I care about being clean, right? I don't care about the other side. I want the side that I'm gonna lay on the wall again to be clean. Now, I go to my little warm bucket of water that has my old scrubby sponge that's all cleaned out. It's just a sponge now. Save these, they're great for this. And I'm just going to gently and carefully scrub off my wall side of my stencil, just like that. When I misted it first, it made it loose and took off that texture, made it to where I could do this. Okay. I'm also going to rinse off my little stencil applicator guy. Sea spray texture comes off really good if you quickly put it into water. Otherwise, it gets rock solid, like concrete almost. So it's not like this has to be clean. It's just really hard to use if it gets super junked up. I'm gonna set that back over here. And now I take a shop towel that's dry and wipe off that back that I scrubbed off the paint and texture stuff. You have to do this immediately before you do your next one. That's why it takes a little bit of time, because otherwise you won't be able to use this the next time. It'll be all junked up. And like I said, I don't care about the front of the stencil. That doesn't matter, because I'm going to clean that at the very end. But between stencils, I want to keep the back side that goes against the wall clean, right? Hello, Lori. Hey, Amy. So, I'm doing my staging wall. And I'm showing you guys the in-between, the tricks of the trade, because I do a lot of stenciling, if you follow me. So I'm going to pull this off and just look at it. And anywhere that there's junkety, this is where your little stencil tool that Dixie Belle sells comes in handy, because you got to get this junk out. And this particular stencil is actually really bad for this, because it's totally all these little tiny crevices. It's more difficult than, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to spray the other side, because this particular stencil is harder than the other ones, because it's got a lot of tiny detail, but that's what makes it so beautiful too. I'm gonna have to do it again, because the stencil's worth it, even though it's a little bit more of a pain than the other one. Spray it, take my old scrubby sponge that's doesn't have anything in it anymore, because you're not wanting to use any cleaning products when you're using your stencil and you're going to be putting it back on your wall that you painted. So this is just water. And usually you can just clean the backside, but with this stencil it's so intricate, so many tiny spots, it doesn't clean up quite as nice as the other ones do. So this stencil is a little more time consuming, but geez, look how pretty it looks. It's so worth it, right? It's worth it. Stay with me, guys. I know this doesn't look like a fun part, but this is how you know how to do it, I promise. I promise it's worth it to do these steps. I recommend having a glass of wine or something when you're doing this. It'll keep Keep yourself entertained. Turn on some music. Embrace the process and know at the end you'll have this beautiful staging wall and it'll be all worth it. This is the front side, so I don't really care about this side as much. I care about the other side. Is anybody else painting today? With me? Painting with me. Does anybody else want to start a staging wall project? Doesn't that sound like fun? I mean, just think about it. Having a beautiful staging wall that you don't need a backdrop or anything. It's just gonna look beautiful. So cool, right? And when you're thinking of your staging wall, I like to think either a textile, like either wood or brick, or I go with like a more neutral, natural tones. So I do color in everything except for this. I did go with more neutrals so that it would make my pieces pop, but yet still have a little more boho oomph than just a plain white wall, because that's not me. And I kind of, you know, your staging wall is kind of like your brand too. So like people will notice your pieces by your staging wall. So you create a beautiful staging wall and it becomes part of your signature brand. So think about that when you're doing it. Vintage wallpaper really makes sense. My website background is vintage wallpaper. And so think of your brand and think about how you would want this to define your brand and people to recognize your photos of your pieces. I think it's like plaster, you can't wash it down. Your sink pipes, your staging wall. Christy, hey Christy, why are you just putting it in the sink with water and clean it there? Well, Bonnie, I don't have a sink in my studio, so I would have to like leave my studio every time I put a stencil down, and I do that at the end. Yeah, if you have a bunch of this on there, it's probably not great for your drain. I'll be honest, I just get mine really hot and liquidy, and I, you know, get it really diluted, and I just let it go down my drain. That's probably not a great idea, but I don't do it every day. But even there, you'll still have to get some of these little, since you're using that plastery material, you are going to have to use something like this to get it out. It won't just come out of these little crevices. So this is how I do it so I can keep working and not have to keep stopping and leaving the studio and going doing that. If I had like a shop sink in my studio, that might be easier. Yes. But I don't. And honestly, the other stencil is not near this hard. It's just these like really tiny, intricate ones that it makes it a little bit more difficult. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's probably good enough. So I'm gonna lay that down. Hey Lana. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next one now. I'm gonna pull you guys back up here. And I'm gonna show you how I paint them. Okay. Okay. Ah, that's the pain in the booty part. I'm not gonna lie. That part's pain. Hey Paula. Very interesting. Yeah, it's kind of a process. Oh my gosh. So is trying to get you guys at a good angle so you can see what I'm doing. I'm very particular about my angles. I want you guys to be able to see. Okay. All right. I'm going to do this other stencil here and show you how I kind of maneuver that. And then I'll show you how I paint them to look like the vintage look, like this. Okay? So, my next stencil is the large damask, how you say that, from ReDesign with Prima as well. I make sure I've got the front of the stencil because it's typed right here, so I know I'm going the right, that this is the top of the stencil. And I did both of my stencils upside down just because I like to be different. So I'm going like this. I want my pieces to be going like this. And then the other one, the next row, I'll have them going like that so that that's just how I'm doing it. And I have a tape measure. And I do 4 inches from the top of this peak to the bottom of this peak. And I just kind of eyeball the straightness of it by holding it like this. And I say, what is 4 inches? It's going to cover up those holes. Yay. Sorry, I'm going to have to go in front of it for a second. Make sure I'm not the right. Okay. That looks pretty good. So once I got the thing on there 4 inches above, then I need to make sure it's level. So I don't measure it to the side. I just measure it from the one in the bottom because I already measured the one in the bottom to the other row. So I'm good to go there. Now I use my little baby leveler and see how level I am. And I'm not that level. There we go. Once I get it in its spot, take my Scotch tape. You could use painter's tape, but I didn't have any, so this works fine. All right, here we go. Now I'm gonna grab my mixture of sea spray and putty. And what about getting a plastic dish pan and let it set for a bit? And just a suggestion. You know, Bonnie, it seems like that would make sense, and I do soak them at the end, but it doesn't fall off. For some reason, I guess because of the material that the sea spray is, it doesn't soak into it and like fall off and dissolve like paint would. It just stays in those spots. So, yeah, it's like you got to scrub it right away is the best way. Using like the scrubby sponge that's been dried out and just scrub it with warm soapy water is the best way I've found. Before I take them into the sink at the very end, I will squirt them with some white lightning. That seems to help, but for some reason when you soak them, it doesn't just fall out. Like, I don't know why, whatever the material is that sea spray is made out of. It seems like that would work. I have tried it. Oh, you can't see me, can you? Oh, dag nabber. Dag nabber. Oh, sweet baby. Trying so hard, you guys, to get it to where you guys can see everything. There. Hey, Janet. Hey, Kelly. All right, so I'm getting more of my sea spray with putty. Dixie Belle sea spray texture with Dixie Belle's color called Putty. And then this is a ReDesign with Prima. This stencil is called the large damask or damask, whatever you say, however you say that. And let me see if I can't. Here, I'm going to pin this in here. There, I pinned it to where you can click and go right to the sea spray if you guys want to try this out. And I will also, I'll post the recipe in here to tell you like what exactly these stencils are from Prima, so you can find them too. The names of them again, and the names of all the colors, in case you want to completely do these exact colors. Of course, you don't have to, but these stencils are gorge. Totally loving them. And the sea spray, I've tried the mud. I've tried a lot of different texture materials, and honestly, the sea spray is by far my favorite, and it lasts forever. So, like I said, I've had that bag for like a year. And you don't have to get this little stencil applicator tool from Prima. You could use like a kitchen spatula. I wouldn't use a putty knife, because if you scrape too hard through it or something, like you can tear your little stencil, or you can scrape your paint underneath. So I would use something that's rubber, like a kitchen spatula or this. I just kind of go up and down backwards so you don't have air bubbles. And then I'm going to put my empty plate over my texture again so I don't lose it. And I'm going to wipe off my little junk off of this and drop it in my warm water. Puke. Ew. Oh, I got a question. Could it mix with other brands of paint? I'm sure it could. I'm sure it could. If it's, I wouldn't do it with latex or any oil-based or something like that. I would just, if you had like some other chalk or mineral type paint, I'm sure it would work just fine. Sorry guys, I have a little bit of a cold. Whoa. Oh my gosh, what just happened? I should say to the Meleah, touch around the stencils. Sea spray is my fave. Yes, it's so good. All right, why can't I make that go down smaller? Okay. All right, then I use my little stencil tool. I'm gonna make sure I use a clean side so I don't put my junky fingers on this and get it all dirty. I'm gonna use this little stencil tool guy again. I'm just gonna pull back where my tape's at on each side. And I'm just gonna really carefully peel it back. Ta-da! And then I lay it face down on my paper towel that I have waiting for it on my shop towel. And then I immediately squirt the side that touches the wall, squirt it down so I can wipe that side off. And I'm going to go ahead and not do the next one because I'm going to go show you how to paint them now. So you don't have to watch me clean that again. See how it covered up my holes that I had in the wall there really nicely? That's awesome. Try to make this little thingy go away, go away. Can't get it to go away, so I can barely see your guys' comments. Sorry. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how to make these vintage. So these raised stencils do take a while to dry because they're thick when you do them the way I just did them. And so these won't be able to be painted on for a couple hours. Probably an hour, well, yeah, probably a couple hours at the earliest. These other ones I've waited overnight. Unfortunately, that means I can't show you the original way. So I'm gonna pull you guys in so you can see what I'm doing. Now, I'll do this one up here. Let's start up here. So let me pull you guys up here. La, da, 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 da. I got junk everywhere. Okay, so what I've done here, once it's dried, see it starts to crackle and stuff, it looks really cool. And then I've used like a round flat brush. Okay, I like this oval medium. It's flat. I like it. And I used Rebel Yellow. And all I did was just barely get any on here. Barely at all. And then I just go in circular motions and hit it in no particular way and then drag it. Okay? So I just drug it off of each kind of point. Okay? Because you want it to kind of look like it's yellowed. And then I just dry brush it over the edges. A little bit too much there. Because you want it to kind of make a halo around your piece. And then drag on the bottom. And I don't care about it covering this whole piece. I'm just gonna let it go kind of over it a little bit. And then it can just be like that. That's the yellowed effect for the vintage wallpaper look. Then, after using the Rebel Yellow for that, I'm going to use Buttercream again. So Buttercream is what I painted the wall with, my second coat. So you'd want to use whatever color you're doing your second coat, you know, like your wall color. And I like this brush for this, round small. Just the Dixie Belle round small. It's flat top, but it's a circle round. And I just barely touch it too. Like that much. And I scrape off the edge, there's no blobs, okay? And then I'm just going to go over the top of this, almost dry brushing over on top. Okay, there again, scrape it back. Oops, there's a glop on the side. Then I'm gonna really light-handed, just kind of go over the raised stencil. Now, I'm not perfectly painting this. I still want some of that putty to pop through. I still want some of the yellow to pop through. But I don't want this dark stencil as my end result. So I'm lightening it up. And this particular stencil, I didn't do a great job on, clearly. Because it's got some over, but that's okay. Because when you do all this stuff to it, you don't see it anyway. And then I do kind of scrape it down over my yellow, kind of bleed out there. So it looks more authentic. And it doesn't have to be even, it doesn't have to be exact. That's the whole point of the kind of worn, weathered wallpaper look. Thank you. And then my final step is I take a chip brush, the Dixie Belle Premium chip brush, and I just barely tap it, same way. And then I scrape it back so it's a dry brush like that. And then I just go over the whole thing, kind of hard and fast. I don't really know why I do that. I guess it just, to me, it kind of smears the whole thing and makes it look more authentic. Like it should be a streaks, you know, when you're done. And then I kind of look at my other stencils around it and I say, okay, Does it have a similar amount of white washed outness to it? And this one looks like it's kind of dark on these edges. So I'm just going to hit those again. And I kind of like it when it has like really whited out spots and then darker spots. I think that looks really authentic. So I'm going to let that happen. I think that looks pretty good. And then that one's done. That's amazingly, I know, difficult live. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle. I wasn't going to do it, but I knew that you guys would ask later. All right, so I'm going to go up and do another one real quick, and then we'll be done, okay? This one Mommy, I did the same way. Yes, baby?
What are you doing?
Mommy working on doing a live video.
Open the door.
I'm doing a live video, baby. I can't.
I'll see your wall.
I'll show you as soon as I'm done, baby.
I'll see your wall now.
I'm on live video, baby.
I'll see your wall now.
So just a little bit of this Rebel Yellow again.
What?
I'm teaching people right now. And you just roll it over, and I've already started these with the Rebel Yellow, but I want to show you the technique.
You're teaching people right now?
Yeah.
Open the door, Mommy. I want to see your wall.
And then you just roll it around the edges of the dry brush and drape it down just on the points. Let it streak down.
Mommy!
And just get that covered. And then, then we're going to go in with the buttercream, my little round, and dip it in and wipe it back just like that. That one went a little heavy right there, but that's okay.
Why do you need a dribble holder, Daddy? Mommy!
And just kind of really light. Tatum, I'm on a video.
Open the door, I see your...
Go help Daddy in. Mommy will let you in a little bit.
Open the door, I see your wall.
I'll show you my wall in a second, baby.
I want you to show me it now.
He's tricking me, guys. He's trying to trick me.
Daddy,
And just real light brush. Go over all the brown. And let it go over the edges.
Okay. Daddy. Oh,
Let it streak down over my yellow bleed outs. Little voice in the background, right? He tries to trick me. He'll be like, I want to see your piece. Then I'll come in and like hide in my area or start messing with stuff. It's a trick. Sometimes I give in.
Mommy, what is this?
I don't know, baby.
What?
I don't know. Ask Dada.
Mom, what is this? Here, this. What's this, Mommy, here?
Tatum, go with Dada.
What's this in my hand?
Here we go.
What's this in my hand?
I don't know, baby.
You know what's this in my hand?
I don't know, baby. It's a candle. And then you take the chip brush, chip just the top, scrape it back so there's hardly anything on there. And then this is when you do the final, and it just creates like a little bit of a line, which to me looks like authentic, and I don't know why, but I feel like it should be like streakity like that, and it kind of like smears the whole finish. And to me that looks the way I want it to look then. So I'm going to try to pull you up where you can see everything. I'll hold you and show you. Thank you. Ooh. All right, so see if I can't. So It really does give like an authentic, what I think of like yellowed out wallpaper, you know? Because like, you know, wallpaper like fades and gets yellow over time. So when I make this, as I start to fade these out, as I go down the wall, these start to look faded and like less raised and a little bit lighter color. Then I think it's gonna really look authentic and cool. And I will, let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can't try to show you the whole thing now. Sorry, I'm not trying to make you dizzy, I promise. But I want you to see the way it's looking. So see my little staging wall. And look how cool that's gonna look. It's neat, right? So I'm really pleased with it. And I think that that'll be, the end of it. I mean, you could go a step further and do like some decor wax or gilding wax and kind of gold it out a little bit, but I don't know that I want to do that for my pieces. I think I want to keep it really muted and whitish so that everything looks good in front of it. Yeah, so I will post this when I'm done and completed, and I will post all of the recipe here in this video, and I did pin my link right there. You can click on, it'll take you right to the sea spray. That's the most important ingredient no matter what you're using. And yeah, stay tuned on my page for the finished product. Thanks guys so much. I appreciate you guys watching me, and have a great new year. Okay, thanks guys, bye.